You may be seated. Today we're going to have Mr. Thomas Clute, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, MSW, but I'll mention what that is in a second. He's also known as Major Tom, the Massive Encourager. And again, MSW stands for Master of Social Work. He is a professional speaker, coach, facilitator, or curator of solar winds expeditions and retreats. He's also a John Maxwell certified presenter and coach. He runs intentional living mastermind groups. He's the owner, founder of Resource Connections International. He's a culture translator of vulnerable populations, including at-risk veterans, and he's a U.S. Air Force veteran. He was in for 4 years. So let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Thomas Clute.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me. I think this is my second or third time, and I just love the group. I saw Dan at the airport. That was pretty cool. Shay, we met on Facebook, and then really excited to make it in person. And looking for. And Rick Miller is here, and he's a wonderful veteran support person. So I just really am grateful. I want to acknowledge the organization. Is that okay, Rick?
Sure.
Yeah. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
I'm Rick Meyer. I'm a peer support specialist with Project Able and work with the veteran population in Uintah County for the VA.
Nice. And I'm benefiting from that, so I really appreciate that. Okay. So today, this is a topic of great relevance for all of us, and it's been a journey of the heart for me to share this, and so I'm really looking forward to engaging with you. So on relevance, harnessing the linguistics of mattering, transforming professional and personal life. Ron graciously found that image for me, both images for me, all those nice images. Something about, you know, that first one, it just seems like friendship from the heart, and that just invokes mattering. It's really beautiful. And then peace on earth. My message today is that peace is, here, I'm going to read from this so I don't have to look at the screen. Okay. So peace is possible when we intentionally choose to learn the language of peace. I want to pause for a minute. How many of us learned peace in school? There's a gap, there's an opportunity. Nonviolent communication is available and it matters. Has anyone heard of Marshall Rosenberg? Nonviolent communication, okay. Words have power. This is the core message of the linguistics of mattering. Words matter. We matter. So we reference Marshall Rosenberg, very humble and brilliant teacher. He's passed away now. His message lives on. Our research reveals in quantum field research that we live in a living cosmos where everything is alive, everything is quantum. For me, that's still a learning journey, but that means what everything is quantum. I think it will continue to be a learning journey for all of us for a long time. So questions that we need to ask ourselves. How do we lean into listening from our hearts and our heads in a mindfulness stance of respect, care, concern, and compassion? You know, my reflection is if we just pause, we naturally do that, right? Because we synchronize our head and our heart, our breath. How can we learn to choose to communicate deliberately with kindness as the feeling we commit to as a virtue worth coming from in all of our relationships? There's a lot packed in there in that question. Let me repeat that. How can we learn to choose to communicate deliberately, another word might be intentionally, with kindness as the feeling. Now, I share that, I invite that dialogue with the feeling of kindness, because it's not just intellectual knowledge. If intellectual knowledge, we all know this, that if intellectual knowledge could have solved the world's problems, it would have by now. So we need more. We need an integrated sense of knowing and feeling and those kinds of things, mindfulness. So as a virtue, now I wouldn't mind, this speech was designed for 15 minutes, and I think we're got about 20 or so. I'm gonna just pause for a second and ask for a little bit of engagement. And I'd like to ask from the audience here, this is just totally impromptu. Does someone have a story to share on when you remember being kind or someone being kind to you? Anyone can think up. Say your name, please.
Andres
Yes, thank you.
Jimenez. It was last year. I was going and picking up a cup of coffee from Starbucks. Nothing special. I think I just ordered like a black Pike Place or something. And the Starbucks attendee had told me that the person in front of me had bought my coffee. And I thought, oh, that was very nice. That was very kind. Just somebody that was in the holiday spirit. I had no idea who that person was, and I don't think they knew who I was. It was just something somebody decided to do, and it's always stuck with me. And so I've actually done it a couple times just because of the way it made me feel.
It's paying it forward, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anyone else? Let's take your name.
Curtis Townsend, Automatic Inc.
Thank you, Curtis.
This was several years ago. I was in downtown Boston. I lived out there for like 6 years, and there was this gentleman standing on the corner. I was driving through downtown, and this guy was standing on the corner, and he looked visibly distressed. But I kind of came, I just saw him. I didn't see the entire, what he was looking, what he was thinking about, but so I talked to him, and I was just like, "Are you okay?" And he looked at me, I looked back at him, and he was like, "Oh, thank you for that, I'm fine." But that was just an act of kindness, checking in with someone to see if they were all right.
You know, we're hardwired for kindness. Go ahead, Barbara.
Dr. Barbara Hart, Center for Resources. Last week, an individual came up to me and told me about the trauma of a suicide just 2 days before that she was going through, and was asking questions about how long it would take to get through the pain and so forth, and how could she help her friend. And we just sat and talked, and I shared what insights I have on that. And then I reached out to her a couple days later, well, she had sent me a message saying, "Thank you so much for taking the time." And I just reached out to see how she was doing, how her friend was doing. And that, to me, was so touching for her to feel comfortable to come and say, what can you do? What can she do, for herself and her friend? And for me, it was so comfortable to just say, let's go sit and talk. Take all the time that she needed.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. Dr. Maureen O'Connor with Heart of Health. I was at a birthday party on Saturday, and I'm going just to meet people and have fun. And there was 2 women I ended up sitting down and talking to, and they started asking a lot of questions about natural health, and I was just sharing things with them, just because they were asking. And that whole comment back that you are here for us today. This is why you came to this party. And I was just being, but because I took the time and sat and talked to them, it made a difference in what they were going through in the moment, similar. So, just listening.
Do you have something you want to share?
Yeah, so I'm Jessica Friedenberg. I am with Farmers Commercial, and I grew up in a family of philanthropists, big Rotary people. All we do is philanthropy. And against, I'm sure, my mother's wishes, at about, I think I was 20 at the time, I picked up a homeless gentleman from a gas station. He looked just like my uncle who had died a few years ago, and I couldn't help myself. I took him home, I gave him a shower, I got him some toiletries, some blankets, and things like that, built him a new path, let him sleep tonight, and then sent him. Oh, I got a earful from my mom. But I will never forget that man's face. I will never forget his tears and his humility. And he was a brilliant man. He just had fallen on a tough time and didn't have any family to fall back on. And gosh, how I know without my mom and my family, all it takes is one step in one wrong direction, and we're out there too. So how could you not feel compassion for your fellow human? How could you not reach out and say, can I buy you a meal?
Yeah.
What can I do for you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful stories. Thank you so much. So kindness is something that we are hardwired for. And your awesome presence that came through me, because I had never said it that way before. I was actually at Crossroads Community Church, and Pastor Bill Ritchie said, we're hardwired. Do you guys believe that? I do too. How can we create a context for kindness through the linguistics of mattering and conscious communications with each other? I'm just going to reference this for a moment. This is a training called Transformational Leadership, and I took it in recently. And the thing that the trainers established, first of all, was connection and a culture of trust. Took everything to each another's name, throwing the ball. It took us 3 minutes around the room. We had about 15 people to pass the ball and share their name. And eventually, the group figured out that all they had to do is have one person hold the ball, and everyone touched the ball at the same time, and it was just less than 1 second. 3 minutes down to 1 second. So that's pretty fun. So how can we create a context for kindness through the linguistics of mattering and conscious communications with each other? Can I ask for some group participation real quick? Sure. Okay. So I'm wanting to improve my linguistics of mattering. And I tend to use fancy words, and I'm wondering, what does that question mean to you, and how would you like to embody, engage, practice, and unleash that in your life and your organizations? And then just one parenthetical statement is that kind organizations, they have good reputations, don't they? So it does matter. So is that question something that you feel like would be good the way it is, or would you like to mix it up a little bit? Mix it up a little bit? Okay, let's try it. How can we simplify it, keep the purity of the intention, and yet not distract ourselves by being too wordy? I'll just have you, how are we doing for time?
We still got 15 minutes or so.
Okay. All right, so I think so I'll just hold that as a question because I want to move on, and maybe you can pipe in later as that there might be something that comes up. So, but I think the key here is to bring forward the question, and the question shifts into a qualitative space where our heart and our mind, mindfulness, and then that thought expands, and then it naturally comes through. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm.
Yeah, me too. What can we do today to love what is, which is a book by Byron Katie, in our lives and communities? So my most essential step that I submit, you ready? So we'll do this together. Deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Okay. With that deep breath, to invite us on a journey to pass through the portal of humility. Now, I kind of borrowed that from a professor in Australia. He shared that until the students took on the role of humility, that no learning occurs. Does that make sense? And that can be a tough spot to be in. Acknowledge to ourselves that we likely didn't receive in our culture, and therefore innocently did not know. That we really don't know very much about peace from having it modeled to us in an embodied way.
Can you shift the screen over a little so we can read
I'll have to ask Ron to do that.
Yeah, we can't do it.
You
for-
can't,
yeah,
okay,
right,
okay.
yeah.
They tried.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, the
We'll work on that
projector.
next time.
Yeah, the projector.
Yeah, that's projector.
That's the full screen right
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So,
But if you move the projector.
yeah, that is a little frustrating.
We worked on it beforehand, but ran out of time.
Let me.
Oh, wait.
Just a
Maybe
smidge.
Curtis went to Harvard, so.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Increase the.
No,
Oh, gotcha.
That was the first thing we tried.
Zoom. There should be a Zoom.
Nope.
no, it's,
Two.
you're just outside the,
Yeah.
See, what's funny is when we
There's
first set
anything
it up, the laptop shows perfect. But somehow in the communication today between the laptop and the projector, it doesn't want to communicate.
Okay.
Say, it's not.
Okay, carry on.
Carry
Sorry.
on.
Nice try.
So are we.
Okay.
You know what? We don't have to be perfect, just have to do our best.
That's right. I love that. So, not just intellectually, but with our whole selves. That's been an amazing journey for me, an amazing journey. Difficult, challenging, painful, and exhilarating, and adventurous. Relate? Yeah. With our whole selves, emotional, intellectual, neurological, physiological, environmental, and so on.
Tom,
Yeah.
decades ago, his probably most famous line he ever said was, "Peace, like war, must be waged."
Ah. Thank you. Very powerful. The passionate advocate for peace, that'd be an understatement. The curious paradox is that when I can accept myself just as I am, then I'm free to change. Dr. Carl R. Rogers, great late father of person-centered therapy, author of many books including Becoming a Person, and also, I believe his final book was A Way of Being. I look forward to going through. So if our language, this is a reference from Dr. David Bohm in his book on dialogue. He says our language is polluted. If our language is polluted, contaminated, shaming, or authoritarian in nature, or has some of those elements in it, if it's problem saturated, for example, we know the medical model in our mental health system and our what's it called? Our medical system is pathology based primarily. Fortunately, that's shifting. I'm really grateful for that. Needs to shift faster. And our language is colored by these dominant influences. lost my place. Okay, there, good, okay. Then it can be an incredibly challenging and courageous task and process to begin to name our feelings, recognize our thoughts, take sovereign ownership of our personhood in terms of individuation, coming of age, and becoming emotionally literate. I really feel like that Dr. Paul Rogers assisted America with that, with the world, to help us to come into identifying our thoughts and naming our emotions and being able to feel acceptance. Because without acceptance, we're fighting ourselves. Fluent and responsible for our own lives, even in the face of societal and cultural norms. Now, I just named something there I'd like to invite you to agree with, even in the face of societal and cultural norms. What does that make you and me? A leader. For me, it's a spiritual warrior. Because you're leading with the integrity from your heart, even in the face of society that may not understand you. You're going to hold to your principles, compassion, kindness. That makes sense? We need that. Remember when a couple of years ago, the high school students walked out for 17 minutes in honor of the shooting? All throughout America, they walked out. That's a big deal. They shouldn't have to do that, but I'm glad they did, because they were exercising their volition. That's exactly what we're talking about. Okay, even in the face of societal and cultural norms, pathological patterns, and violence embedded in media and dominant culture, entertainment, sports, education, religion, and military. I was curious why some cultures are violence embedded and other cultures are not. I'm not sure. I would welcome input on that. Encouraging comments from Major Tom, the massive encouragement. Okay, if you're on this planet, you are courageous. It's kind of a bold statement to make. Respectful of people's beliefs. Let us work together to intentionally engage what we can and what we have, where we are every day. Dr. John Maxwell talks about intentional living, choosing a life with significance, choosing a life that matters. Now, I had a thought I want to share during this presentation, and that was, if we come from a baseline or an underlying feeling that we all matter, we know in our hearts that we matter. When someone acknowledges that, when someone mirrors that back, when someone treats us as if we matter, we feel it and we feel strengthened, right? We feel like we have validity, visibility, and value. Triple V. Okay, that's kind of like the geese, right? Triple V. They're smart. They're wise, actually. So, I lost my train of thought. What was that I was asking about? I wanted to explore.
Intentionally engaging.
I forgot it. It's okay. Okay, and in so doing, find peace within our hearts that we did our best. Oh yeah, I was talking about John Maxwell, intentional living and significance, and he references John Wooden, his mentor, to make every day your masterpiece. Oh yeah, I know the thought now. Okay, so in order to matter greatly, you could borrow from what's this, that book, Jim Collins on
Good to great.
Good to Great.
Yeah.
Okay, how can we go from being unaware about our mattering or significance to being aware? Well, what I would submit that John Maxwell teaches in intentional living is that in order to live a life of significance, it has to be more than just yourself. You need to extend yourself to at least one other person. Make sure you include yourself, but then extend yourself, and that fuels significance. By adapting a culture of kindness in our vocabulary, and watch how our life, by adapting a culture of kindness in our vocabulary Watch how our lives and relationships blossom, transform, and unfold in beautiful ways. We're already witnesses of that. With intentional strengthening of that, as we've done today, we can live into that further and pass it on. We can become significance ambassadors to carry the torch of peace forward by learning and living the linguistics of mattering ourselves and for future generations. You are the substance of eternity. You are one with all that is. And those are some of my references. Okay.